I see 215. Would you concur? We will call the meeting to order of the Policies and Procedures Subcommittee of the Citizens Advisory Board. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate the great attendance. We will begin with a roll call of members present. If you would please say your name into the record so that we'll know we'll have an accounting, and we will start with you, Leslie.
Leslie Nesmith, present.
Ray Douglas, present.
Stephen Buck, present.
Hannah Royce, present.
Stacy Coe, present.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the quorum of the committee, so we can proceed to business. At this point, if you'd please join me in a pledge. Attention, salute the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to confirm that the required public disclosure of this meeting, including the meeting schedule and a posting of agenda, was posted to be correct with the open meetings procedure. So we are set and ready to go. Agenda item number 1 before us today is any public commentary that was to be offered. Do you have notice of any public comment? Seeing none, we will begin to agenda item number 2, which is consideration of the minutes of our last meeting and, if so desired, approval of those minutes.
I've motioned an approval. I have no discussion.
Is there a second? I do have the motion. Is there a second?
You seconded it.
Okay, it hadn't shown up. So there has been a motion and a second. Stand by.
She is making our lives easier over there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, county staff.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I understand there has been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote.
And mine's not popping up. Mm-hmm.
We have a affirmative vote of 6, 0 in opposition, 0 abstention. The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is to officially welcome Ms. Coe to the committee. If you'll remember, at the last meeting, we were able to accept her nomination and to vote her approval. However, at the neglect of the chair, which would be me, I failed to have a county official here to officially swear you into your duties. So that is the next item on our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Coe?
You want to read?
Oh, yes. You'll want to read it.
If you would, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Stacy Coe, solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of my office today.
and will faithfully discharge the duties of my office fidelity
that I have not paid or contributed
that I have not paid or contributed,
directly or indirectly,
either directly or indirectly,
money or other valuable things to secure my nomination,
any money or other valuable thing to procure my nomination,
except for the necessary and proper expenses
except for the necessary and proper expenses
expressly authorized by law,
expressly authorized by law,
that I have not knowingly violated the election law of the state,
that I have not knowingly violated any election law of the state,
or procured it to be done by others on my behalf,
or procured it to be done by others on my behalf,
and I will not knowingly receive direct or indirect
that I will not knowingly receive, directly or indirectly,
money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law,
other than the compensation allowed by law,
and I further swear that I will not receive
and I further swear that I will not receive,
use or travel upon any free pass
use or travel upon any free pass
or on free transportation during my term of office.
or on free transportation during my term of office.
Congratulations.
I think the streetcar is free sometimes on weekends.
Weekends.
When it's a big festival downtown, you might catch that streetcar be free, Mr. Foot.
Congratulations, Stacy, and welcome to service. We are very, very glad to have you as part of this group, and I personally, as a matter of personal privilege, feel very strongly that the voice you will have to offer will be extraordinarily helpful as we navigate this process. So, thank you for your desire to serve. It's quite meaningful. Agenda item number 4 is discussion and potential action regarding the methodology for systematic review of partially non-restricted policies and procedures and non-restricted policies and procedures of the Oklahoma County Detention Center policies and related recommendations to the Citizens Advisory Board of the Oklahoma County Jail Trust. That is a recurring item that I expect to see on the agenda each month. I don't know at this point what action would be called from this item unless you would so instruct the chair to pursue other avenues. But as a matter of refreshing, you read it in the minutes, is we will have the opportunity to both review those documents that are public facing that involve the operations of the detention center. There will be 2 types of documents that we might see. Those that would have operational security elements, and those operational security elements would be considered a review of restricted documents, and the manner in which we would have to address those might look very different than those that are non-restricted in nature. So just to advise you that at each step of the way, we may have to make a clarification of the type of document that we're going to review and the manner in which we review it. Any further commentary on agenda item number 4? Agenda item number 5 is actually our opportunity to begin the review process. And what you have under your attachments under agenda item number 5 is you have an attachment known as the inmate handbook. This is the document that all detainees are issued, and something that they have an opportunity that governs their rights within the facility, what they can expect, and any way to resolve grievances or whatever the case may be. As a matter of record, the inmate handbook is a public document that is readily available on the detention center's website. So this would be a document that would be considered non-restricted in nature. So that item is introduced for you today for consideration in any initial conversation. As this was placed onto the agenda, I believe on Monday was the official filing day. It occurs to me you may not have had much opportunity to do that. So I welcome either direct conversation on the document today. I welcome a recommendation that perhaps we deal with a couple of pieces, or that we develop a strategy for how we would like to review and report back as part of our anticipated February meeting. And I will allow for the fact that as I am seeing it for the first time on our computer cues, it becomes pretty difficult to read on this particular document. So I maybe I should put my glasses on speaker still. Thank you. Yeah, the Reverend was fully prepared and had a printed out version, so thank you for doing that. I can manage this. Tell me how you do that again, Hannah. That guy right there?
Unfortunately, we don't have iPads anymore, so you have to use.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the assist. I welcome any introductory conversation that might have, or absent conversation today, any direction on how you would like to address this document forward.
Chairman, I think my first, and I noticed we've actually even mentioned it differently in our agenda. We reference them as detainees. So I think I don't know if we want to do that formally today, but I would love to see this handbook be called the detainee handbook instead of the inmate handbook. I think that is a piece of some of what we've discussed in the past regarding human-centered language, and knowing that over 80% of these folks are being detained versus charged with a crime already. I think it makes sense to maybe make that recommendation across all of the detention centers, in places where they reference the individuals being held within the facility.
Responsive to that, first of all, thank you. Excellent observation. As a reminder for the Committee on Process, this committee does not promulgate full recommendations to the trust. Our process will be at the next meeting of the CAB to bring forward specific recommendations we might have so that they may be considered by the full CAB and subsequently by the chair or vice chair presented to the full trust. So from a matter of process, anything that endorsed at the committee level will eventually be reported back to the full CAB. Is that consistent with your expectation, Chairman Steele? Thank you.
Do we need to vote on that, or is that a motion?
I can word it as such, and then we can.
If it pleases the group as a matter of process, can we have some open commentary?
Yes.
Discussion is allowed, and then perhaps in a comprehensive motion, so that we're not moving and then voting and then moving and then voting. I don't think that there would be, since this is a single report, I think we can roll multiple items into a single recommendation.
I just wanted to comment that was actually exactly what I was thinking when I heard it out loud. Was I would prefer that it also say detainee.
As this is a discussion item, one thing that occurs to me, it is my understanding that members of this subcommittee will be taking part in in focus groups, which has been part of the regular programming of the overall advisory board. It might be helpful as we consider our work as part of some focus groups to do a reference. I use the term reference check to do a check-in with the detainees that we might be interviewing in the focus group to understand their awareness of the availability of a handbook, and then B, to gauge in their interpretation the respect for the handbook within operations. That seems like a reasonable use of the focus group process, as this should be, from my experience, this should be an explanation of expectations that a detainee should expect.
Absolutely. And in vein with that, I think the formal recommendations from the recruitment and retention of staff subcommittee. No, maybe it was just from focus group one. Maybe it was the CAB ones. I'm sorry. I know there were 10 total, 5 from the recruitment of retention staff. That was regarding staff, but I know it was mentioned that potentially a peer-led orientation process might be something to look into for the detainees. So as my peers here go to their focus group today, maybe I don't know if that will be the same detainee who was interested in that, but I know that might be an interesting question to see what alongside the detainee handbook, what an orientation might look like, what they're looking for, what they're missing from that handbook, and that sort of thing. So. I'm curious, and we might not know, but it says the current daily incarceration rate is 5312, and that was effective January 1st of 2021. Could we assume that that has probably increased just based on costs? And is that states, or is it? It is state
Fact
statute.
that there's a cost, I don't know. I think that each county has an opportunity to set their.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to know if that has changed even statewide, if that looks like it's a.
So as in kind of grouping things together, just to restate, is there is some language modernization that has been suggested in the terms of detainee. There is a request for verification of information, which would be the currently stated cost of or detainment, correct? Detention. I would be very interested if any of my colleagues know the answer to this question. I don't, and did not do appropriate diligence, which is the number of language specific versions of this document that might exist. And then I would be very interested in some sort of data point about those who are detained, the native language, some sort of statistic that speaks to who might be detained and what language communication strategies might exist for that. I asked that question candidly, not knowing, but I think that's an informed question to ask.
I would agree, and I am very grateful that you asked it. I want to say that CJAC's website might bring up some, I don't know as far as language barriers go, but we can certainly, there's ethnicity that it's categorizing detainees out into. It's their jail tracker tool, so I'll be looking to see if that is maybe even something that could be added in the future as they're booked in.
You will note, and for those who may not have attended the last meeting, you will note that as the full cab considered motions at the last meeting, I believe it was December meeting, to make recommendations to the trust. Some of these items, such as mail privileges and things, were addressed, so that there has been recommendations in that space that has already been delivered.
don't see, maybe, hang on. Under mail, I'm not seeing the price of sending mail. It does note that when cost is paid by the detainee, there is no limit as to the amount of mail that can be sent or received, unless it is otherwise determined that the type of mail or source of delivery is contrary to public safety. However, under that mail portion of the handbook, I just don't see how much they would pay.
Mhm.
So, doesn't. Also, just in knowing what I heard, I think at a few jail trust meetings ago regarding getting, I believe, a Muslim detainee the what they were in need of. I know that says only the following items will be accepted through the mail system for detainees. E notes 2 softbound books, 1 softbound Bible. So I'm interested to see if that could be changed to 1 softbound faith text, right? Just something that opens that up to not just be for Christians within the center. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Ron seemed like they had a tough time getting them. I'm hoping that, I don't know if anyone, Chris isn't looking at me, but need to find out if they were given that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you know where the Bibles or the faith texts come from? I know that with the Bibles, there's a lot of organizations that donate that. Do we know if that's something that's in the budget that they,
I don't know if it's in the budget. I know that Mac does usually have those available for folks. And I know that the person who spoke was, I believe, similar to a clergy, was trying to just get into the facility to give them a Quran and
that's very, very
was being
difficult
denied. Yeah.
with I know, I mean, even for Christian clergy, sometimes
Mhm.
it's
Sure.
hard
Mhm.
to get into that. But no, I guess the thing is that if someone is not sending these to them, and I mean, kind of just got to my mind. I
Mhm.
know this is about what can be sent,
Mhm.
but I was just wondering if that they have those available
I bet they're
there.
being donated. I'm not sure that they're in the budget. I I can I do want to check into it because I know there are efforts being made to have more just books readily available in general from Mac and his team. So we'll check into that.
So to play shepherd here, I am seeing 2 very specific action requests that have emerged thus far. One request being language consistency with detainee in lieu of the word inmate. I have seen a second request regarding availability of religious materials to make sure that it is a broader spectrum. I have seen those 2 as being on the request side. In the more information category, I am aware of a desire to understand more about the current daily rate of detention. I understand there is a desire to learn more about postage limitations as it relates to detainee self-pay. And then the third item that I have noted thus far is to understand in greater detail the various languages that individuals who are detained might come as their natural language and the availability of written or translated resources for those individuals.
Might add that, and again, from the mail, that we do, I think that language needs to be inclusive, as Hannah said, that any faith-based text, but what they're allowed to have is any similar religious
Mhm.
text that's returned. So, but I think that the verbiage should be inclusive.
Yeah. And I will, to the extent that as chair I have discretion, we will reopen the detention handbook at our next meeting for any items that we did not catch today. I think that would be important, and hopefully we'll be able to provide for you the updates on the 3 pending questions that we have thus far. If I might, June, if I might single you out here, because you and I have worked together for a number of years, and I know you have great experience in facilities that serve individuals in a treatment or care environment. So you've done this professionally for a number of years. I wonder if either at this point you might have commentary, or you might do some research for the next meeting on the completeness of the what I will call the grievance process that is articulated in here, to make sure that there is a clear path of when there are concerns that somebody's needs or obligations are not being met, that there's a clear path of reconciliation. As I mentioned, I know from your experience working with multiple accrediting bodies in your professional career, you're very familiar with grievance protocol, and I think your insights there would be wonderfully helpful. Thank you. Thank you, June. So I again will play shepherd. The 2 specific action items that pinned before us that would be recommendations to the full cab would be language usage as it relates to detainee as opposed to inmate. More inclusive language as it relates to religious text. The parking lot items are cost of incarceration, or cost of detention, I should say. Mail and the cost as it relates to an individual's own expense of mail, U.S. Postal Service. And then the third item that we were exploring, and Madam Vice Chair, you may have to remind me. I know you're taking diligent notes, which language.
The language, the translated.
Correct.
Yes,
And those will be requests for more information from our colleagues at the detention center. And then June, as a matter of follow-up, will look specifically at the grievance to make sure that that is a best practice. Are there any other items to bring before the committee today on this particular document? As I said, we will reopen it in subsequent meetings. Okay. So is there a motion to advance the 2 items specifically to the full cab?
I will motion.
Is there a second? There has been a motion and a second. I will restate the 2 items for the record. They are language consistency with use of the word detainee. The second item relates to the inclusivity of text, religious text. That is the item. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. 6 yes votes, 0 no votes, no abstentions. Those items will be advanced. For our county staff, if it's okay, I would like to return to agenda item number 5 for a second motion, which is a motion from the subcommittee to request 3 specific items from the detention center staff. Those include clarification of the daily rate for detention. That will also include further information on mail expenses when the detainee is paying for expenses, The other will include information on the native languages for those who are served by the detention center and availability of written resources or translated resources. So if there's anybody willing, I would like to entertain that as a motion.
I move that motion.
And there has been a motion and a second. We are now voting on the second motion to request specific items from the detention center.
Bye, Perrin. She thought she could sneak out.
June. Okay, by motion of 6 affirmatives, 0 no votes, 0 abstention, that motion will advance, and that will be communicated to the detention leadership for follow-up as part of our next scheduled meeting. The next item on our agenda is listed under item number 6, and based upon, I have now done this to myself. Let me get to the correct meeting.
I did that a minute ago.
Boy. Okay. Based upon the information provided, we do not have those policies available for review today, so that item will be deferred and will carry over to the next agenda. At this point, we're ready for announcements. The announcement is that our next scheduled meeting is for Wednesday, February the 15th at 2:15 p.m. I anticipate, because we are now into the meat of our work, that we will hold all meetings as scheduled. And they will be much like today's, where we deliberate over specific sections of documents. So to the extent you can, I would encourage pre-read of agenda materials so that you may be prepared. With that announcement out of the way, is there a motion for adjournment? There is a second. Roll call in progress. By a vote of 6, 0, and 0, the motion to adjourn is accepted. Thank you for your attendance today.
Thank you, Chairman.
Good shit. Is this your first focus group?
Yes.
You'll enjoy it.